Hi, wanted to give you a short overview on how to find evidence or how to find literature and research articles. This isn't the only way to do stuff, but I at least wanted to show you some of my tricks that I use that have worked out pretty well for me. So the first thing you see on my screen is PubMed. And so if you want to get to PubMed, you can type in www.pubmed.gov. And so PubMed is a great resource for looking up journal articles, and it's a kind of the Google of the research world. There's also Google Scholar, which I'll show you in a minute. So at PubMed, I hit enter. It has this other address, which you'll see up here, the NCBI. But if you type pubmed.gov, this is where you get to. So if you want to type in a search that you're interested in doing, you're trying to find out whether or not cognitive behavioral therapy helps with depression. So you type that in, cognitive, see all the different options that they give you. It's very handy. Behavioral therapy, and you can look for depression, insomnia, anxiety, all different kinds of things. Therapy, we can even put in web-based. Sometimes that might come up with something. So it may or may not come up with something. As you see, there's a citation that says evaluating a web-based cognitive behavioral therapy for maladaptive perfectionism in university students. That sounds exciting. Web-based cognitive behavioral therapy for perfectionism, a randomized controlled trial. So that's one search. I did another search where I looked up cognitive behavioral therapy for depression. And what I wanted to point out on this page is there's something that says EPUB ahead of print. And I'll go up to the very top. So there are 10,050 articles that have been pulled up by PubMed. Sometimes you'll find a really great article and then it says EPUB ahead of print. That means that it may not be available yet in the journal, so you may not have access to it yet. The other thing you have to do is scroll through and kind of find the riffraff and look at what it is that you really are interested in. There's another component, which is when the articles are in a foreign language. Doesn't help very much unless you speak that language. So as you see, we have 10,000 different articles that have some word associated with cognitive behavioral therapy and depression. There's all kinds of them. Some of them may not match. There's also over here titles with your search terms that I use pretty frequently, where I click on this because it's opened up or it's searched for something that I might also be interested in. So it's another way to search that's relatively painless. So what I did is I went ahead and did another search on multisystemic therapy, and I found this article, Multisystemic Therapy Compared to Telephone Support for Youth with Poorly Controlled Diabetes, finding from a randomized controlled trial. I checked, I knew that it was actually available before I decided to do a presentation on it. So my process is, and you can see I have all of these different windows that are already open. I do that when I do these kinds of searches. I go to the name of the journal, which is right here that I've just highlighted. I go to that to edit, copy, because sometimes I don't always type it in right. And then I go to our library and I go to, well, and I'll go all the way back. I go to the library and I click on articles because that's where it's what I want to find. I don't ever type anything into here because I haven't found that to be very helpful. Maybe you would. Research databases, I don't find that very helpful either, but online journals I do find helpful. So when I get to this page, if you're off campus, you have to sign in. If you're on campus, you don't have to. When I get to this page, what I typically do is I've copied the journal name from PubMed. I go here, I do edit, paste, and then I tell it to search. What it's showing me is that this journal is available from all of these different databases. Because this one is, and I have to write this down usually, October 2012, then I go back to my list and I see 2001 to present in Electronic Journal Center. So I click on that and that brings up all of the different volumes and issues all the way back to when this journal became available through EJC. So if you remember, go back once again, try to make sure that I go slow. 2012, October, volume 44, issue number 2, and the page numbers are 207 to 15. And I'm looking for multisystemic therapy compared to telephone support. So I go back to my Electronic Journal Center. It told me it was volume 44, issue number 2. So I click on that and I have a whole list of different articles. So you can scroll down. There are times when I'm looking for one type of article, and then when I'm scrolling through the table of contents, then I actually find a different article. And so at times I feel like I'm in a rabbit hole because I just keep finding more and more articles. Okay, so there it is. Our multisystemic therapy compared to telephone support. I click on PDF full text, and there's my article. That's pretty handy, huh? So I can also, let me make this smaller. Maybe a little too small. As I had pointed out in the first lecture that you watched, you can also use references to be able to continue to find works that were written in this article. So you can go and I have no clue much about diabetes, but if I wanted to look up the Journal of Pediatric Psychology, I can write that down because in PDFs you can't always copy and paste. I would go back to my full text electronic journal list and I would type the name of the journal in there. Let's just say I looked up and I found Children and Youth Services. So 1979 to present in Electronic Journal Center. I can go to this journal. The nice thing about Electronic Journal Center is that I can also search within this journal. Let's type in multisystemic. And it's going to look at or find within that journal all of the articles that have the word multisystemic in them. If I do it this way, I click on the name of the article. I see the abstract, and then I click PDF full text, and I have the text from that. You might keep this one in mind because this is a discussion of systematic review on the effects of multisystemic therapy, which is a little bit mixed. I can also go to Google Scholar and I can type in multisystemic therapy. So I can find this. So here's an article. You see, it was printed in the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology, December 1992. So I can copy that. Go to the university libraries. Go all the way down to the 1990s, 1992, and it was in December. So I scroll through. You can get the page number if you'd like. And I see the article, Family Preservation Using Multisystemic Therapy. I click on that. And it's very slow. Partially because it's an older article. Older articles load slower in general, and they also print slower. So here's the article. So hopefully you've found that this approach isn't too overwhelming and it's not too difficult, and that you can use literature that's cited in the different articles to actually keep looking up more information about the treatment, about the condition, etc. And so it can kind of help you out. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. Hopefully you found this to be helpful.